You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Park Rangers, Locked On Coogs here, talking about Houston Cougar basketball recruiting. And the story of the week this week in recruiting, actually, in men's hoops, was not a commitment, as Houston is doing very well in building connections to the class 2026. And, you read what different guys are saying, you hear insights about what's going on. The 2026 class is looking to stack up pretty well in comparison to previous 2025 is special. We'll see if we can replicate that or not. But the big news lately was that Aziz Olajuwon, Abdulaziz Olajuwon, son of the famous Hakeem Olajuwon, received an offer from Houston this week. Now, Aziz is a 6'6", 200-pound forward from Clements High School in Sugar Land. He's not the big fella his dad was, to say the least. Although, famously, I think Hakeem actually was a little bit shorter than his listed height always was, and actually kind of played into how much more cool it was to watch him dominate. That's not today's show. Aziz has had a meteoric rise this offseason. I say offseason, it's AAU season in recruiting. He really did go from, I think the big thing people are projecting is the continued growth and potential because of the gigantic leaps he took from last summer 2024 before his junior year to this summer 2025 before his senior year, where he graduates in 2026. And I think that they're looking at that projection and saying, okay, now we just put him in our development system and watch him continue to hit those same leaps and miles. Like this is going to go a long way. Aziz is a long 6'6", uses his body very, very well, finishes both sides of the rim in traffic, strong, sturdy. He good looking jump shot. I would call it streaky still at this point, but he doesn't look mechanically wrong. Like, I think more time on task will become a really good shooter, frankly. And then credit to the JL3 program, John Lucas program. Those guys, and I've talked about them before. If you can't tell, I like that program. That AAU program actually plays pretty good defense, or at least plays really hard on defense. Don't always have the best scouting reports in AAU, so it's hard to play that kind of defense. Plays really hard on defense at a time where I think the stereotypes would tell you that AAU basketball doesn't always have that, right? Aziz is a part of that. Aziz is a solid defender that is very, very he wants to play defense. He's aggressive. He enjoys playing hard on that side of the basketball. And it's frankly, I think, why he fits with what Houston's trying to do. I think it's interesting, though, and I can't remember what outlet it was on, and I wish I could because I'd give it credit, but I couldn't go back and find it either. I heard KELVIN SAMPSON say one time, it was an interview with somebody, I can't remember what it was, but he said he doesn't just offer any Houston kid at this point because of where the program's gotten. And he said that Houston is such a basketball city that there's all kinds of talent across the city, right? And he even kind of expanded to Texas after that. But his commentary was that he totally understands with Houston getting to where it's gotten and playing the kind of basketball they play at the level they play at, not every high-level kid can walk on campus as a freshman and jump into that. Right now, that's to say that that's a lot of pressure to play in front of mom, grandma, and everybody in town when you've been the man in your circles at high school or whatever to then join this program. I think there'll be freshmen play this year, a lot of minutes. For what it's worth, I think at least one, if not two freshmen start on the team this year. I kind of think it's two, but that's not today's show. I feel like, though, he understands that if you're from Houston, you've been the man in Houston, etc., it takes a special kind of mindset to understand I'm going to go to this program and I might not see the court for a year. I might not see the court for 2 years. And then when I get there, they're going to make me play defense and rebound, and I might get 4 shots a game. That takes a special kind of mindset that, honestly is not fair to put on every kid in the area. And I think that Sampson saying that has also what you could carry to, Aziz Olajuwon's name. I don't know if Aziz will pick Houston. He's been offered, right? And there are 24 offers to 2026 kids out there from Houston right now, per On3. And For what it's worth, Aziz Olajuwon showing up to Houston's campus carries a different kind of pressure than if he went to literally any other campus, right? His father being such an important figure in the important era, like the face of Phi Slamma Jamma, right? Which is like the most well documented 3 years of a college basketball program, perhaps ever, right? That is a lot of weight that he could. I mean, Aziz could go to Kentucky, Aziz could go to Kansas, Aziz could go to Duke. It won't weigh the same, and so I don't know what he'll do, but I do think that that's probably part of the slow play here. I also will admit that another part of the slow play was probably that Aziz has had this gigantic leap from last summer to this summer in terms of how much he's developed this game, how much work he's put in, how much it like he's just a different player now than he was then. And in watching that JL3 team and watching them work out and watching them play, I would point out too that quite frankly, it wouldn't have been fair to put that pressure on a kid that played last summer. This summer's a different kid, right? And so that's a little bit different. Now, in the 2026 class, they've got 24 offers out. Like I said, only 6 of those are kids from the state of Texas. 21 of those 24 are kids that have 4 or more stars in the consensus composite reporting. 8 of them are 5 stars, and 3 of them are actually what you call a 5-star plus, meaning that there is no recruiting outlet that has them lower than a 5-star, right? So we'll see where that goes. I think the trio of small forwards that I think they're really close with are Bryson Howard from DFW, son of Josh Howard, Christian Collins, the big 5-star kid, is another small forward, kind of wing forward kind of guy. And then Aziz, I think they're very close with all 3 of those kids. We'll see who ends up coming or not coming, obviously. I think what's interesting about those 3 wing forwards, like I wouldn't quite call them big guards, but I wouldn't quite call them power forwards either. They're listed as small forwards for a reason, I guess. Is they all have really different skill sets and really kind of different ways of scoring. The consistent thing is they all play really hard and aggressive on the defense side of the floor, but you've watched Houston play basketball, you know that's a big thing, right? Really, really interesting to see how that pans out. I will say that if Aziz were to commit to Houston, you'll probably see social media erupt because the expectation, the excitement. I mean, you're seeing other fan bases comment below his offer tweet that like he should go to Houston because no one's going to love him like Houston, right? And I will say that part, as while the pressure is also there, that part is also probably true. The guy is going to wear Olajuwon in his jersey. He's worn 15 for JL3. I think he wears it for Clements too. I don't think he'd be trying to wear the 34 hanging in the rafters or behind me. But I do think it's worth pointing out that that's a pretty cool deal in and of itself. Now, this would not be the first legacy any schools had or anything like that. I don't mean to act like that's crazy. And frankly, I still think it would have been cool if Ricky Winslow's son Justice, who was a high-end recruit and going to Duke, if he'd come to Houston. I guess the other Winslow kids did, but that not here or there. Anyway, fun conversation to be had. The daughter did, I guess I should say. But fun conversation to be had. We'll be tracking that as well. Right now, I've got a trio of people sending me stuff, clips, and commentary that cover high school basketball recruiting. They're at Peach Jam in Atlanta right now, the highest of high-end EYBL Nike tournament circuit, working to get someone on after it's over to kind of talk about some potential Coug targets, to say the least. Now, I will say the one that I think we're going to get, we have to make sure it works out with his publication, that he's okay to talk to us about stuff that he might not talk to them about. So we're working on that for you to make sure we get some Peach Jam wrap up. They're playing right now. I think the semis and the finals are on ESPN. So if you're trying to watch some recruiting, I'd imagine there's a couple of Coug targets in that as well. But talk about that when we get there. Talk about Forever Cougs this weekend as well. That's going to be Friday's episode. More on all kinds of things Houston recruiting and rivalry and space races and all kinds of stuff each and every day here at Locked on Cougs. So subscribe and hit the bell so you know that we are live. Locked on Cougs, Premier, the Locked On Podcast. Now is your team every day. Go Cougs.